Good morning and welcome. It is the end of May. We've kind of done 2 updates this month, but this is our end of May update. Thank you to those of you that are joining us live. We know that many of you will probably watch this month's on the recording because it is half term. However, there is lots packed in to this session. If you haven't joined us before, we know that we've got a number of new people in our networks, because a huge thank you to everyone that came to our sessions at Phantom Peak, the Social Media Day Fest last week, which was an incredible 3 days. It was packed. We opened the stage, didn't we, with everything we could into 20 minutes. So this is our longer version. And should we just dive in, because we've got so much to cover this month?
Let's crack on.
Yeah. You can get a copy of these slides, scan the QR code. The recording of this session will play back straight away afterwards. So if you miss it as you go, don't worry. Scan it in and we will make sure that you get a copy of the slide deck. You can adapt it to use with your team for updates as well if you need to. And don't forget to connect with us. This was us last November. Stand at the front of the stage. These are our QR codes for our LinkedIn account. So if you haven't connected with us already, please do so. And on to November. So last week was the amazing Social Day 3-day fest. The B2B dedicated version is coming November. November the 12th, we hosted this last year. We're going back to the same venue, which is Bounce in Shoreditch. And as a heads up, we will be announcing the agenda and the speakers next Friday, the 6th of June, and the super early bird tickets will be available until the 30th of June. So look out for emails, social media posts. If you're in our WhatsApp group, we will be doing the big announcement of what we've got in store for you next Friday, the 6th of June.
I'm excited about that one. The feedback was wonderful, hence the reason we're doing it again. There is not enough focus on social media in B2B brands, which, do you know, a funny stat, not really funny, it's kind of shocking. You know, like B2B represents 63% of the overall economy. You wouldn't believe it when you think that how little it gets represented in any kind of marketing events. So yeah, it's about time that us B2B folk give social media the recognition it deserves. So lots of good stuff coming. Anyway, that's enough waffle from me. Should we dive in, Luan?
Yeah, so as always, whether you've joined us before or not, we're going to start off with some data and trends, the stuff that Andy and I read each month and want to debate and talk about and share with you. And then we will go through the platforms one by one. Please do say hello in the live chat. Because we've got so much to get through on the slides, I've got one eye on the live chat. If there's any questions, we will try and get to those at the end of the session. But do say hello if you are watching it live.
Cool. All right, let's dive in. Always the same format: data trends, followed by the network by network review of the most important and impactful new features that you'll need to know. This slide, if you've joined us numerous times before, won't surprise you. It's really just reiterating all the things that we know in the direction of travel as to how buyer behavior is shifting. And increasingly, we're going to see it shift this way. And I posted about this on LinkedIn this morning, about the fact that it's kind of shocking that 60% of all Google searches now end without a click. So the way that people are discovering and interacting with brands is undergoing a tectonic shift. So this is really leading to why social media is increasingly important. So for those of us working in and around social, our jobs have always been difficult, but they've actually just got even more important. So unsurprisingly, more people turning to social media, YouTube, as a place to discover products first. The reason for this, and the underlying reason for all of this, is this: people are looking for places of trust, genuine advocacy, those things that help people shape their preferences and their purchase decisions. It's all happening on social, in the comments threads of influencer posts, in smaller communities, all those kinds of things. So lots of opportunity here. Some really interesting data came out from Facebook. It was something that was kind of leaked but had to be disclosed as a result of all of Meta's recent FTC filings. They're going through a big court case at the moment. And the court case is all about, should Meta be forced to break up? Should Facebook and Instagram live as two separate companies, basically? Without getting into that, though, as part of their court case, it means that they have to disclose some very interesting data and disclose it publicly. So as you can see, a huge amount of growth happening in terms of video on Facebook. Now, basically 55% of all the time spent on Facebook is spent watching video. And the reason for this is no surprise whatsoever when you look at the growth of Reels compared to consumption in the feed and in other, which might be in DMs, etc. So this is just Facebook specifically. So not Instagram, this is Facebook. So it just goes to show if we want to grow on Facebook, if we want to get noticed, video is the way to do it. Reels is absolutely the way to do it, particularly on Facebook, who are continuing to prioritize Reels.
Just something on that, Andy, because I saw someone post yesterday, and this is just one person, but it is someone that has a very large, active, engaged account on Instagram. And she posted that she had posted her reel on Instagram, as she normally does, and on TikTok and on Facebook, and got significantly higher views for her reel on Facebook compared to the other two. And then kind of put, maybe I should be posting more of them on Facebook. So I think it's sometimes we think, particularly with Reels, Instagram first, but there was a significant difference. And this is from a very active, well-followed consumer account, but was worth noting.
That's a really useful call out. And yeah, I think that's some really, really solid advice. I think I speak about this quite a lot. And I think this is what's happening on Facebook right now. There's a bit of an attention arbitrage. Most people are focusing their Reels content creation on the platforms that you already alluded to, Luan, but Facebook have 3 billion monthly active users. So, basically the way that we could break that down is about 1.6, 1.8 billion people, then, if we're taking the 55%, are watching video. That's nearly double the total usage of Instagram, just watching video on Facebook. You can see why they're seeing such incredible results on Facebook Reels. Fascinating.
So don't forget Facebook, I think is what we're saying.
Correct. Exactly. Now, this might well spark some conversation. So again, this is from Meta's FTC filing. I was fascinated by this because this is possibly the most direct piece of data that I've yet seen that quantifies the narrative that Luan and I have been talking about for a while, which is, do followers even matter anymore in the wake of Reels and recommended content? And obviously we've just been speaking about the growth of Reels across Facebook and other platforms. We know that our Reels content is served to people that don't follow us predominantly, and we know that the content that we receive in our feeds increasingly is not that from our friends. So when you look at the shift in terms of the amount of time that people are now spending consuming content from friends, that of course still larger on Facebook, but it's such a tiny slice of content that's actually being consumed from content from your friends. Basically, you're not being served content from those that you follow. And it means that we need to think about social media in a different way. We need to think about success in a different way, where winning followers, having tens of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands, isn't the goal anymore. Our goal has shifted. Our goal and our criteria of success is different. It might well be views is our primary metric. That's certainly where all of the other networks are pivoting towards. But Luan, I'm interested in your take on this.
I think there's a couple of challenges around this. One, I think having the balance between, or having the data is really useful. Having follower and non-follower data is really useful as well. Different parts of the funnel, if you believe in funnels. But there's a challenge here. And one of the questions we asked using Slido in our B2B theatre last week was like, what is the metric that your boss always asks you about? Shockingly, the top answer was they don't ask. The second answer was, how many followers have we got? So this is still, and there's a whole challenge around this, like the language of the boardroom that people are asking. So I think as marketers, we need to do an education piece around, it's not just about followers anymore, and what metrics are most meaningful and valuable and why. The other challenge with number of followers is we all know about the creator economy and influencers, and very often those influencers that are picked are based on how many followers they've got.
Very true.
So I think with picking your influencers and people who want to be creators and monetize their audience, we've got a little bit of conflict kind of coming ahead. Work I've done on influencers in the past, size isn't everything. You've got to look at engagement and quality and everything else. But I think it's going to be hard for us to shift away from this, even though we know we should be.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, fascinated to know what those watching today feel about this in chat. Really interesting, very big shift.
Yeah, a quick question on here, because I have got it in my eye. So this is Facebook and Instagram. Helena has asked, do we know whether this is true of other social media platforms? So this data source is Meta. Does it matter on other social media platforms? I think LinkedIn were about to experiment with a follower or connections only feed at some point. TikTok obviously has the For You, which is not who you follow. But we don't have data.
Yeah, there's broad assertions we can make on this, and you're right. LinkedIn is still more social in a traditional way, where it is dictated by your social graph. They're constantly tweaking and changing this, as we all know, but typically your followers determine your content reach. So LinkedIn still matters in that regard. TikTok, absolutely not, as you already said. TikTok was the one responsible for throwing out the whole notion of followers actually being a thing. So YouTube Shorts, again, doesn't matter. Basically, the way you could think about this in a really easy heuristic is that if it's a short form video focused platform, of which I would put both Facebook and Instagram into that category, followers don't matter. If the platform is more text based, if the platform is more multi-format based, whether it's text, carousels, etc. So LinkedIn go into that camp, YouTube long form, that kind of thing. All of those still are determined. Success is still determined by followers. So even though we can say the broad statement, followers don't matter anymore, it's kind of like there's nuance to that, where it's like it kind of depends where our focus is. So yeah, I would still care personally about overall follower numbers on LinkedIn. But if short form video is our primary focus, then we just don't need to care about followers. We should really care more about our overarching view count and reach of our content, because that's what it's optimizing for.
Well, quality content and discoverability for search. And as Lizzie has mentioned in the chat, this is great. Who has time to follow hundreds of people? I think if I think about user behavior, how often do I sit and go, oh, I need to find some new people to follow? You don't do that activity as often. So maybe this is why things have changed on the platforms as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I found this absolutely fascinating. Again, this was from Meta's filings as well. So this is all direct from Meta. And it was so interesting to see this is what happened when TikTok closed for that small period. Can't remember when that was, March, I think, for just over the course of the weekend where it closed. This is where the usage went to. And I was utterly fascinated to see Facebook come out on top. Yeah, I don't know how or why. I wouldn't have expected it. Would have expected Insta, and obviously we heard lots about Red Note as we were talking loads about it, of which, and we're not talking about it anymore. One of those flash in the pan moments. But it's interesting to see that even though the demographics on TikTok are, you would think, very, very different. Well, they are very different compared to Facebook, but there's still such strong audience overlaps on TikTok across the core social platforms. I think one of the thing I wanted to say on this is that this talks to the point that we often reference, which is, debunking that common narrative is that my audience are on TikTok. That's not true. Your audience are across everything. There's just really strong overlaps, and it's our job to understand how significant those overlaps are, which will help us determine what our multi-channel strategy is. We can't be everywhere, true, but it does behoove us to, have one primary platform, which might be TikTok, and then have supplementary platforms that we know there's a strong audience overlap. That's my take on this, but interested in your views, Luan.
I think what's important to think about our audience is that engagement has changed, and maybe we've got some platforms where people are more active in their engagement versus others, and maybe Facebook is more of a platform that, out of habit, people are lurking and scrolling on more than they are other platforms. So even though Facebook often gets dismissed, I think people are still there. It's just how people interact with the platforms is very different.
Agree with that. We spoke about this before, actually, but Threads passed 350 million monthly active users. Threads on a good growth trajectory. Meta are betting on it being the next billion user app. I think it's going to take a while to get there. To be honest, I still think it's going to be a little bit more niche than that. But either way, if your audience are on Threads, then that's your first port of call, and it's still a fantastic, or it's becoming an increasingly useful place to like research where your audience are spending time as a result of like the topic tags that they added over the last month or so. It's much easier to then find your audience by searching through those different topics and find where those conversations are happening. So Threads increasingly going up the rankings in terms of how important it is, at least for researching where your audience spend time. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, kind of community-led conversations.
Yeah, agreed. So one day LinkedIn will share their actual numbers and everyone will be happy. But such is their ownership underneath Microsoft. It's always a little bit obtuse. Again, they're like, hey, guess what? Record engagement. Everything's wonderful. Everything's wonderful. So yeah, session growth, revenue growth. LinkedIn is in general looking pretty healthy right now. Video content consumption's up year on year. We all know all this. Yes, we also know that it got 1 billion members, but we know that the vast majority are not active. Like the predictions, as you can see from Matt's post here, somewhere between 280 to 300 million globally. The other interesting thing was fascinating to me was the growth of the premium company pages. We spoke about that last week, and they're continuing to like push more value to the premium company pages. So that's my take, but you're very close to LinkedIn too, Luan. So interesting in your view.
Yeah, I think that, you know, the personal profile features don't change significantly. They are obviously trying to push people towards premium with some additional features, and removing it from the core. I think, you know, you can't have a custom link on a free account now, but you can on a paid for account. Not enough of a reason to upgrade, but definitely in terms of like company page features that can be used to support employee advocacy and encourage your teams to support you. I personally still don't think that posting on a company page is going to get you the results, but having the features where you can, it's a more powerful hub within your organization as a content tool, is certainly working, particularly with like the auto follow feature and newsletters. And we're seeing, we'll come on to it in a minute, kind of new advertising opportunities and data around attribution. So they're getting more granular in the information that they're giving us, which as a primarily B2B platform is great.
I definitely agree.
Very happy with it.
Now, this is a bit of a departure from the usual stuff that we speak about, but I wanted to include this because I think this is just going to become such a thing or a point of consideration for us all working in social, particularly as in the age of AI and influencer declarations, all of this kind of stuff. And as social media matures and us as practitioners, it's our job to truly understand the opportunities, of which we obviously talk about all the time. And most of this stuff is all about opportunity and how optimistic we are about the future of social, but also the risks and the threats that exist. So, you know, the Crumble as a brand have been very successful on social, but they also mistakenly used a whole bunch of sounds that are not commercially licensed. And it's not something that we talk about enough, really, and especially as, you know, social media, without wanting to undermine it a little bit, often gets like pushed to like the most junior in the organization who has not been trained in law or commercial rights or anything like that, or AI declaration, because it's, you know, why would they be? So it's our job to really like take social media more seriously because of its strategic opportunity it has for us as brands. Increasingly important considering what's happening with SEO right now. Social has never been more important than it is right now, and driving the perception of our brand and what shapes buyer preference. Social media is at the front and center of it. But we need to understand and have and exercise good rigor about, one, how our influencers are, if we are using influencers, are declaring ads and making sure that that's tagged appropriately, how we're using commercially licensed music, like in the example of this. We can't just take a Taylor Swift song that's doing well on TikTok and go, sweet, we'll use this for our brand. No. I mean, most of us know this, and I'm probably teaching you things that you already know, but this is a sobering moment when you look at this, when you look at someone that's been lauded for their success and they've just got one hell of a legal bill. And then point 3 is like, this is going to get more important for us all. And whilst this isn't a mandate, I feel this is going to become more significant, which is as we start to think about how we disclose AI content, right? So whether that's right now, it's a kind of optional thing. It's an honesty policy where you're like, oh, I'm going to mark that this was created with AI. That I think is going to become a more significant thing, both more significant in the fact that brands will be called out for not saying that's something, well, tagging it as AI created. And it's also going to have the inverse effect where I predict that we're going to see more users look at this AI tag and scroll past that content and look at the stuff that's been created authentically by individuals, and basically using like not created with AI as like the real differentiating factor. So I've gone slightly off topic there, but I think it all kind of links into the broader thing about just sensible use of social, like clear rigor around how we disclose stuff. And it's about just elevating social media. That it's incredibly serious. There's a lot of opportunity, but we also need to be acutely aware of that stuff. Sorry, I got a soapbox moment there.
No, it's really important, and it is a challenge, and it's a question I get asked about. Do I need to switch my Instagram account to business? Do I need to do this on TikTok because then I won't have the music? If you're doing this for a business, you have to respect commercial use and copyright. And I've experienced this over many years. This is copyright of images, of words, of books, ebooks, other content, and music. So as someone doing this on behalf of a business, you have to respect other content creators' copyright and don't steal stuff. Let them make their money. Let them make their money.
Yeah, don't steal stuff.
Don't steal my stuff.
All right, so creator economy, I talk about this loads, lots of opportunity here. And this Deloitte report, if this is something, an area of interest, this Deloitte report is a really good one. No surprises here. Like, consumers say that they trust creators and influencers more. They increasingly trust is shifting to other places. I find the Edelman Trust Barometer Index, which is a really interesting report. I find this a fascinating thing to follow, as it documents how our societies shift in terms of who we trust as trusted source of information. Of course, politicians are continually on the way down, as is our traditionally trusted media outlets, all in the descendancy. And where people are looking to trust is the people that they feel like they know, even if they don't know them personally. So that might be creators and influencers. So trust is in short supply across the economy. That means that trust, we're looking to other places to fill those gaps in our trust. So that typically is going to mean that, creators and influencers, that's why we're starting to see such incredibly overwhelming statistics from, where do people go for sources of information, increasingly into those safe spaces that they found on the internet. And I think this really underpins it. And if you were, pitching to your boss why we should be thinking about working with influencers or creators or building our kind of network of collaborators around our content, this is a really powerful data point to show to an exec or whomever's holding the purse strings here. Fundamentally, people follow more creators than they do brands because they care more about it. So if we actually want to get noticed, we should probably work with them. It's the TLDR here.
Yeah.
So anything you'd add, Luan?
I just think this is increasingly important, and this is B2C and B2B, and cross sector. It's not one or the other. We're seeing it increasingly in B2B, and it's shifting towards people, isn't it? Away from logos, and this is really important, and particularly in B2B where the sales cycles are longer. You can't create trust overnight. You can't create trust in one email or one social media post. This is all about visibility and consistency over a long period of time.
Very beautifully articulated. Love that. Cool. All right, over to you.
Okay, new features, platform by platform. Meta, we'll fly through these. Of course, if you missed it from the beginning, you can get these slides to look at afterwards. Meta, what are they up to? Here's a surprise, AI. Meta have released a standalone AI chatbot. I haven't played with this yet. It's standalone, it's part of their suite. I'm sure, no doubt, it will be integrated and it will be used increasingly. Instagram, again, no surprises in this one. Edits, we announced last month that they'd launched their new Edits app to rival CapCut, and they keep adding new features into it. Again, it's not something I've played with personally at the moment. I know people that have. The key question, will content be favored more if it's created with their own tool? Missouri has said no, but I'm sure they would like to see people using it, and the downloads do increase, and they're getting more and more features to match what else you've been using. I do like this one. We've said views is becoming a primary metric. Adding more data insights for us is always valuable. Instagram is showing view counts on carousels with music. So as a reminder, your carousels on Instagram can now be up to 20 images. It gives you more opportunity in the feed to appear because the second carousel and the third carousel are often served, so better than single images. And they have said in the past, if you add music to your carousel, it can be counted as a reel. So keep it music that is royalty free or commercially licensed, but do add music because it does help with reach.
Love that.
And soon you'll be able to share your Instagram account. I hadn't spotted this one until the deck, Andy. This is where you can now share your access natively. So I know anyone who's working in large teams where sometimes you think, oh, I need to do some things natively in the app, can't do it through a third-party tool, can't get access through a third-party tool. Now being able to have allowed for real, rather than just sharing usernames and passwords, shared access to collaborate natively within the app. You can now add up to 3 people.
Yeah, very useful. It's going to make a lot of people very happy, this.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not out though. It looks like it's in the late stage of testing. Yeah. Just FYI.
But do still be careful with your password management.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about this one coming. This is lockable reels. I think this is a really nice interactive feature where you can kind of tease a reel, but you kind of offer a code to be able to access it and view it. I think you would need quite a dedicated, loyal audience to start using this so they know the quality of what you've got. But it's a whole nother layer that would work really well for creators or product launches and teases, I think.
Definitely.
We're getting more ad options.
Skip one.
What have you done?
I failed to operate the keyboard. That's what happened.
Sharing Instagram posts only to your profile. This is interesting. And I thought about why would you want to do this? I think this is really useful for those of us that like to have control over our feed and what it looks like. And maybe we want to tidy it up without kind of posting loads of new stuff. Or maybe if you are just getting started on a new account, still does happen, and you kind of want to populate things before you start pushing things out. So I don't think it's something that people would use all the time, only sharing to their profile and not pushing it out to a feed. But it could be useful for those that like to keep things tidy or starting afresh. Ads, we're getting more options for ads across every platform and now running Instagram ads next to trending content. I think this is really interesting. I'm sure there's going to be a premium price for doing this and limitations. Should I say Meta Business Suite's probably not going to make this easy to set up either for anyone that likes to use it. But I think this is a nice placement option as well.
It's one of those things that I'm like, I wish I thought about that. It's such a smart thing. Something's already got so many views going through it. You want to be the ad surface next to it.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense. So yeah, good opportunity.
Seeing when users like your reel, this data is available across some platforms in different places, but this is about almost like what's the most interesting point and where do they drop off, or in this case, like at what point do they tap that like button to say they're enjoying the reel. This is really useful insights. We can see here it's right at the beginning for people to keep watching, and then a couple at the end, but knowing how people interact with your reels will also give you some insights about length of your reels, as well as they've got a little bit longer, up to the 3 minutes. Like, where is it people are doing their engagement?
Really like this one.
Tracking trends in the creator marketplace. So we keep talking about creator economy, finding your creators, finding your influencers. The platforms natively are now giving us more data and insights around what's happening, being able to find people to partner with as well. So I think them building this, other third-party tools have been available, but doing this in-app is going to be really valuable.
Yeah, this is gold dust. This is so useful. And of course, this probably indexes a lot more B2C than B2B, I think, here. But like, yeah, being able to understand the trends that are happening across Instagram and Facebook and the people that are creating those. You know, finding, you know, we speak loads about like creators and influencers and the opportunities, but fully cognizant of the fact that it is a huge undertaking to work with these folk, right? It requires sourcing, finding, collaborating, yada yada. So yeah, anything that kind of breaks down those barriers so we can look at the things that matter the most. And even if we're not using influencers, I think that's actually quite a smart thing just to have a look at to guide our content strategy anyway. Sorry for the waffle, but I think that's good opportunity.
Yeah, useful data. And this one, being able to track creators' past collaborations. Now, I know you and I have talked about this, Andy. Like, sometimes I have a feeling around, would you want to work with a creator if they've already worked with a competitor or another brand? Is it something that you would want to do or you would prevent doing in your kind of discussions? Being able to have access to that. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong either way. I think it's an important criteria for people to consider for themselves, but to be able to get this information again through the app natively is going to be really useful for people in their decision making on that.
Definitely.
And Adam Missouri, every week, Ask Me Anything is really valuable. And one of the ones he did recently was someone said, oh, I'm thinking of starting a new account, or should I just keep my existing account? What should I do if I'm changing direction? And his advice is there's things you can do to make your transition. You could make a video about the fact that you're changing direction to give your followers a head up. You could archive all of your old content for your profile so it's not confusing. You can use trial reels, which only go to your non-followers before you decide to pivot. He's kind of, most of his answers in the Ask Me Anything are usually, it depends. It depends on your objectives. You test it, you decide, and wait and see. But I think he is saying, basically, and if we think about the fact that followers aren't quite so important anymore, that you could keep your existing account and do a pivot without having to start afresh. LinkedIn have been making some changes as well, and we really like these ones that they've been pushing forward. We know that they're leaning into video, that it moved from just the mobile app onto desktop. Last month, we talked about them adding trending topics. Yes, we've seen that elsewhere as well. But now their latest video test is this kind of tile view on a mobile where you can see videos under those trending topics. I haven't looked at this yet. Have you, Andy?
It's not. I don't have it in my app.
You don't have it.
I'm updating my app, and it's not there. So they test it in different markets. But
yeah,
I think what you'll notice, and yeah, be on the lookout for this. I'm actually going to update my app whilst we're doing this now. But,
to see.
Yeah, look out for that little video tab. I don't see this yet. Let me know in the chat if anyone sees this. It typically is rolled out in different countries at different times. But either way, again, the TLDR is they're going to be pushing hard on video and thinking more about like your video around your topics and your content themes is going to be an important thing to get ahead of this curve if LinkedIn is your thing.
Yeah. And they are sharing advice on how to create video. So whenever a platform shares advice on how to create content, it's worth a read because they're telling you what they want to see. And if you deliver what they want to see, then they're going to be happy and you're not going to see any detriment to your content. So do check out their video tips. This is a nice one. I haven't played with it yet, but I've been reading about it. LinkedIn's new revenue attribution report. This is within Campaign Manager for ads, going to give you more insights around the companies that are interacting with your ads. So if you can, in terms of your targeting, the more data you can add to LinkedIn Campaign Manager, like select the companies that you want to target, that is always useful. I've seen some great results from people I talked to about this, but now having that attribution around how people within a company are engaging with your content is going to help with your follow-up activity in your pipelines.
I think this is perfect if you have like an account-based marketing approach where you want specific businesses you're going after. Absolutely love this.
Yeah. The brand link creator monetization. Oh, look, LinkedIn are getting in on the act of creators as well. This is now, they have a program of trusted publishers and creators is what they call them. They've been invite only at this stage, and this is where they can work with a brand to do pre-roll ads. So it's another ad format. It's using creators, influencers, and publishers. We'll start to see that rolling out over the future weeks. I think I've seen a few LinkedIn learning instructors and kind of other thought leaders, top voices saying that they are part of this program. So I think we'll start seeing this in our feeds more and more over the next few weeks as this kind of starts to roll out.
I think that the net result of this, and the bit that I kind of see unfolding here, is that this will make B2B creator economy more of a thing, right? Because it's already it's burgeoning, but not a thing like B2C. And you know, when people can start monetizing their videos, obviously you can see a little ad CTA in Guy Raz's video here. When you start to think that creators can actually start making money from the content that they post on LinkedIn, then that starts to make more people flock to the platform. You now start to have more of a creator class in like subject matter thought leadership-y stuff rather than more kind of B2C lenses. So I think, again, that leans into everything that we've been talking about. So going to be very interesting to watch how this evolves over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. This is a nice ad option. First impression ads. Ensure your brand shows up first when LinkedIn is opened. I haven't seen this in my campaign manager or settings yet, but I think this could be a good opportunity to think about.
Definitely. It's not, as this is only an alpha testing, not like for everyone. I think they presented it at a big marketing event, but I think this will be good. Again, to your other points, probably not going to be the cheapest ad placement, but good for when if you've got a major launch coming up, maybe later this year. Think about this one. Yeah.
And then this was just this morning. My first task every day, cup of coffee, read the news. LinkedIn adds more post analytics. So I'll read it. We often hear our members ask for more insight into how professionals are engaging with their content beyond likes or views. Starting today, we're rolling out new post analytics to help you efficiently connect your content to meaningful outcomes. You'll now see when a post drives profile viewers and new followers and clicks to your premium custom button. That's the premium account. These are signals that reflect how your content is sparking interest, growing your presence, and motivating your audience to take action. So I like this. I'm looking forward to seeing this. The more insight we get around what content resonates and drives opportunity. So it's not just likes or views, but actually drives people to do something. I think this is a good one.
I think that this is gold, and not enough networks think about this in this way, because interaction is fine, people engaging and interacting with our content, but actually really what we want is either, especially on LinkedIn, because followers matters, we actually want people to take an action from that post and find out more about us from viewing our profile and then following us. So I love this. I'm going to pay very close attention to this from now on. So,
and as you know, Andy, I spend a lot of my time in DMs and messaging, so to have that data, I would immediately be able to follow up. So thanks for, I saw that you engaged with my post. starting that conversation, like, thanks for following me, I'm glad you found that post useful. It's a really good first message conversation starter. So don't just go, oh, that was nice. There's no time for that on LinkedIn. Get in the DMs and start having a chat.
Love that. That is exactly it.
And for those of you that are job searching or think LinkedIn has forgotten that it's a recruitment tool, it hasn't. This is still a primary part of the platform. They are adding new features for job searchers, yes, with AI. There is also a new ads library section just for jobs. So if you want to see paid job ads, so if you're currently on the hunt for a new role, you've got some new features within LinkedIn that could help you. X. We haven't mentioned X today. We haven't heard from them for a while. Maybe they've been busy. All about video. They have this intention. They declared an intention to be a video first app. Starting to work on that again. Videos on X finally caught in 4K, so increasing their quality.
All right.
Your turn.
Thank you very much. Right. TikTok, again, this data, you take it with a pinch of salt. Always look at what your audience behaviors are, and you can find that in your TikTok analytics. But typically, if you want to get maximum engagement, Thursday mornings between 6 to 9 a.m. and Saturday midday are the days that TikTok is strongest. TikTok is a little bit different to the rest of the platforms typically, and I've shared this before, in the sense that if you looked at Instagram or Facebook, typically you'll see engagement and interaction highest in the morning, whereas actually if you look on aggregate, you'll see that TikTok's engagement is actually highest in the evening. So slightly different behavior patterns on TikTok versus other platforms. But what else are TikTok up to? So users can DM in live streams. Again, this is leaning into TikTok's continual push into shopping, live stream shopping, of which, Luan, you and I have been talking about social shopping for quite literally 5 years, and thinking about, like, is it taking off? Is it not? Then obviously became a thing in lockdown, and then they rode back investment. But it looks like TikTok are the ones to finally crack this in Western markets, particularly US and UK, where we're starting to see social shopping become much more commonplace. TikTok is leading the charge on this, both across like live streams, like live stream e-commerce is becoming much more of a thing. Basically, TLDR, if you're an e-commerce and you're focusing on like B2C or D2C type of approaches, TikTok is incredibly strong for this right now and continuing to do more to support that. And this, because, creating video is hard, although getting easier as a result of some AI assistance tools. TikTok is now allowing you to turn still images into videos. I've been testing this out and it works phenomenally well. Of course, you won't want to use this all the time. Probably great for like meme orientated content. But yeah, again, it kind of lowers the barrier to us creating videos for TikTok. But also don't forget that still images and the carousel type of posts work well on TikTok too. So don't feel like it has to be a video if it doesn't need to be. Again, to your point earlier, Luan, when platforms talk about best practice, it's always good to follow this. So if you looked at like the 4 check boxes of what making a TikTok looks like, of course, there's a lot more nuance to what creates fantastic content. Content could follow none of these and still perform well, but like these are good like hygiene factors. Did you edit the film or film in-app or edit with CapCut? This is the point that you mentioned earlier, Luan. It's like kind of like unwritten rule that TikTok seems to favor the stuff that was edited in-app or TikTok versus in-app or in CapCut versus others. So do wonder whether edits will apply the same logic. Relevant caption, keywords, etc. Social SEO is becoming more of a thing, particularly as a thing on TikTok. We talk about this lots. So yeah, make sure we have keywords. We included sounds are important, but of course, commercially licensed sounds, very important for that. And have you included 3 to 5 hashtags? Obviously, this is usually my trigger word of like, oh, hashtags, etc. So hashtags, apparently, they still matter on TikTok. And yeah, whilst they don't matter as much on other platforms, interestingly, 3 to 5 is still recommended here. Again, relevancy is key. Ones that are about the topic that you're focused on. Don't try and, you know, put in a random hashtag because it's trending. It's not really going to help you. But yeah, hopefully this is just some good best practice general guidance. Onto threads. This is an interesting outline. I'm sure lots of people probably breathe a bit of a sigh of relief as they're seeing this. Like, finally, a platform that I don't have to fall over myself to create video for. And again, I'm really appreciating Adam Mazzari's candor with some of this stuff, where it's just like, generally it doesn't do as well. We rank more for perspectives and conversations than for entertaining content. So that is a really good signal that for a lot of the stuff that you and I talk about, Luan, we're talking about like, no, followers don't matter as much, you know, engagement doesn't matter as much. It's just about views, you know, get the hook right, yada, yada. That is true of social media platforms. And that is true where most of the attention is happening on social. But increasingly, there's like a bifurcation of what is happening on social media, whereas one side we've got the kind of more entertainment-led, followers don't matter type of recommended short form video content that we talk loads about. But the other side to this, I've spoken about this before, is like the more communicative, collaborative, you know, engaged type of conversations that are happening. And that's where threads still very much follows the, you know, social media 1.0 type of rules, where followers do matter, engagement matters. That's stuff that we've all known and grown up to understand as truisms for social still exist on threads. But that being said, threads are still desperate to get you to like work across all these different platforms, repurposing content. We spend loads of time talking about this. Basically, you can now add your threads to Instagram stories. I think that's just a sensible thing to do. Cross post and build your awareness across multiple different platforms. We've already spoken about the importance of cross-platform posting and the importance of thinking about audience overlaps. So I think this is a good thing. Threads also, interestingly, so this makes any marketer feel very happy because they're also helping you promote the things that you want, which is you can now add up to 3 links. I think it's 5 actually now within your Threads bio. So now it's much easier to drive people to the places that you want. And they're also allowing you to track link clicks as well. So as you can see, you're going to start to see in insights from Threads, the click data. So showing that, you know, it appears, and I've seen some other anecdotal evidence to support this, it appears that Threads are not throttling links back like other platforms do. Because we all know posting links, we know it has a detrimental impact on reach, particularly on platforms like LinkedIn, for example, and same is true on X. But actually on Threads, seemingly that they are encouraging people to drop links. Of course, we still need to start conversations. That's what, you know, Mazzari was saying in a slide a couple of slides ago. You know, we optimize for conversations. So of course, we still need to have context in this. But if we need to link to something, we're not going to be penalized for doing so, which I love. And oh, guess what? YouTube's making finding creators easier too. I don't really need to explain this because we've had this narrative quite a lot, but all of the platforms are trying to make all of these collaborations easier. We all know how important they are. Shorts continues to bulk up in terms of its capabilities. So now we can do polls to drive interaction on our YouTube Shorts. As we know, YouTube Shorts are performing very well. And for WhatsApp, and this gives me some COVID vibes, this does. Yeah, anyone remember Clubhouse? So interestingly, you know, what I want to watch this with interest, because those kind of smaller communities, we talk about this loads, it's becoming so much more of a thing now, especially on WhatsApp. Whereas WhatsApp, I never really considered this as a social platform before. Increasingly, I'm thinking about this more as a social platform, as these kind of groups and communities and social media, as I said, that kind of splintering between, you know, broad distribution stuff and short form video and the smaller niche communities. So whether that's Threads, whether that's Blue Sky, whether that's WhatsApp communities, those smaller areas is certainly something that I would encourage everyone on this call to think more about. What is our strategy for engaging our audience, for having dialogue with our customers, users, whomever? And WhatsApp is just one platform for that. But now they're giving us more options to interact and create those deeper connections. And I think this all plays into the narrative of we're looking for trusted sources, places that we feel safe in the internet, where we feel seen and heard. So I think this is a really fascinating trend to watch. Pinterest, we spoke about AI labeling before. All of the other platforms allow that. Pinterest have just enabled that too. So again, really important. So we consider that. Reddit, finally, continue to grow, continue to drive a whole bunch of usage, and continue to be surfaced so heavily in Google search. So great opportunity still exists for brands who employ more of a community management orientated strategy on Reddit. So lots of opportunity. But in any case, like, it is the best listening post for an industry. So I just empower everyone to think about that when they're doing research to get some insights from Reddit. And finally, Substack. Clearly, it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Somehow they missed the memo that Clubhouse crashed and burned, and we all want audio-only live streams. Who knows? Let us report back as to whether the WhatsApp and Substack experiments into audio-only live streams is a thing. I think it still exists on LinkedIn, just not used very heavily anymore. But who knows? They've probably got some better data than I have. So we made it. We've done quite well on time today, I think.
We've done really well. There was a lot packed in, as always. And let's try and summarize that. So we've got followers continue to decrease in importance. It's about changing the conversation around followers and what it means, and the importance of non-followers and your discoverability as well. We've talked a lot about how we need to consider making our content more conversations are happening less in public and more in DMs. So think about, share this with someone who needs to see it. It's a nuance on your copy, but it's one that really matters. We've talked a lot about the creators and influencers, ties in with followers and not, but also how important they are around trust. So if you're not working in this space yet, think about it. Your employees could be your influencers as well. You don't necessarily need to go outside your organization or spend big money on this as well. It's all about who is it your audience trust and will listen to and has got credibility in the market. And then social discovery, shopping, it's still growing. We thought it was growing during COVID, and then the features kind of disappeared from some platforms, but TikTok in particular, shopping, TikTok made me buy it is huge.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
We have just one question in the chat that is unanswered, and I'll let you go first on the answer because I know we've both got a different list on this one. Recommendations for tools for data analysis. And the second part of this, a tool that can predict how your posts will be accepted. Well, if we could create that, we'd both be rich, wouldn't we? But in terms of data tools, what are you using right now for analysis?
Two in particular. It depends what kind of analysis you want to do. Now, Reddit is obviously, Reddit Trends is a big one. So Reddit Trends is a nice free one that you can use. That will give you a whole bunch of analysis as to what your industry are saying. And that's also, that Reddit data is also available on ChatGPT too. So you can get some really interesting trends there too. That's nice and free. The other things that I use heavily is Mentionlytics to understand sentiment around the brand, mentions, and of course my old classic share of voice, as we all know this. That's the way for me, holistically, for me to understand the health of our broader marketing strategy. So they're the things that I use, but for general, like, day-to-day social content performance analysis, I use Metrical for that. So all of these tools, so Mentionlytics, Metrical, and then ChatGPT, across those three, you've got a real broad spectrum of analyzing stuff from your own data, stuff from competitors, and stuff from the broader market. And I lump all of those insights, all of those exports, lump it all into ChatGPT and help me make sense of it. That's it.
Yeah, I tend to focus on native analytics within the platforms, because directly from source. own data within an organization, so your website traffic, your pipeline, your opportunities, your sales. But I also, for auditing, I quite often go back to SEMrush for competitor data and insights as well. It's one of my favorites. We've done it. As always, we've filled the hour. We've run through all the updates. We know it was fast, so play it again. If you need to get the slides from us, join us again next month. As always, it will be on the 26th of June. Next month, I will create the event and you'll see it on our LinkedIn posts at some point. Do keep an eye out for next Friday, the 6th of June, when we will be announcing what's happening at B2B Social Day on the 12th of November. But otherwise, if you're on half term, enjoy the rest of the week. Otherwise, we will all see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.